What do you get when you cross Silence of the Lambs with postmodern feminism and a dash of lesbian sexual tension? Well, find out in this hot take of Killing Eve.
This is Eve. Hi. She'll be joining us. I believe there's a female assassin operating internationally. She's highly skilled. No trace, no pattern. And you want me to find her? Because frankly, she's starting to show off.
Your fancy hairpin is all over the press.
Don't worry. I got another one.
A woman is leading an operation to find you.
They won't catch me.
No, listen, they might.
They won't. I think I've met her.
What's her name?
Eve Polastri. Deal with her. Just be subtle.
I can be subtle. Very subtle.
You sure you want to do this? Sounds dangerous.
I know.
Hey everyone, Matthew Kadish here, author of the Earthman Jack Space Saga and editor-in-chief over at dailygeekery.com. Coming at you today with a hot take of the first 2 seasons of Killing Eve, the BBC quasi-spy drama slash comedy, I guess, that is now available on Amazon and other great outlets. So for those of you who aren't familiar with hot takes, basically they're different from reviews. Reviews, I like to kind of dive in depth and really take a movie apart. But with hot takes, they're just kind of my general impressions. So I can get them out there and let you know whether or not I recommend you check something out or whether you don't. So if your tastes are aligned with mine, these will help you kind of figure out, new things to watch and experience on the TVs and in the theaters. So we're going to be talking today about this show called Killing Eve. And it's basically a BBC production that is kind of like a dramedy, drama slash comedy. Mostly a drama, though, about a international female assassin who is being basically, hunted down by a very, very talented intelligence investigator. And it's pretty darn good, if I do say so myself. So basically, it's based on a novel called Codename Villanelle, and it's by an author named Luke Jennings. And it was originally published as a 4-part novella back in 2014 through 2016, so he kind of put it out piecemeal. But it gained a lot of attention, I guess, and eventually the BBC kind of picked it up to turn it into a TV show. And they brought on a woman by the name of Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Now, for those of you who might recognize her name, she's actually quite an up-and-coming actress slash writer slash producer. You might know her from the Amazon original series Fleabag, which she basically produces, writes, and stars in. But she is also probably best known for her role as the android L3 in Solo, a Star Wars story. So if you've seen that movie, you'll know that she's kind of Lando's sidekick, and she's big into droid rights, and she's a crusader for that. And she also has kind of a romance with Lando in that movie. So she was the actress who played that, and she's also been tapped to work on the script for the new James Bond movie, James Bond 25. So she's kind of a big talent over in Britain. And she was the one who basically wrote and produced season 1 of this show. Now, considering her kind of background as a postmodern feminist personality, there's actually not a whole lot of preachiness in terms of woke political stuff in Killing Eve. It's actually very straightforward. There's a female assassin out there, and a female intelligence analyst is the one hunting her down. And what's cool about this show is that as this female intelligence investigator, who's played by Sandra Oh, her name's Eve Pulaski, who's the titular character in the show Killing Eve, Eve kind of starts to identify with Villanelle, and she starts to kind of get into her mindset and really start to understand her. And as she gets closer and closer to capturing Villanelle, Villanelle starts to kind of develop a counter obsession with Eve, where for the first time in Villanelle's life, someone kind of understands her, because she's so detached from humanity. She's such a psychopath that the fact that there's someone out there who understands her enough to actually be able to hunt her down successfully kind of tickles her fancy. And so what you get is this kind of strange frenemies love story going on here between these two women, where Eve becomes more obsessed with capturing Villanelle, and as she becomes more obsessed, she kind of starts changing to become a little bit more psychopathic, as opposed to the kind of very emotionally normal person that she starts off as. And Villanelle develops a stronger obsession with her as time goes on, as she starts kind of investigating Eve. And the story is very interesting because it's not just about the fact that in order for Villanelle to be safe, she has to kill Eve, because Eve is her biggest kind of threat. But it's a metaphorical thing in the sense that the Eve that the show starts off following has to basically die metaphorically as the show goes on, because her interactions with Villanelle change her. And it's a very, very interesting story in that sense, because it balances the kind of cool spy plots where, like the cat and mouse game, with this kind of subtext of obsession and the relationship that these two women kind of develop over the course of the series. And I think it's very well done. I have to hand it to Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I thought that season 1 in particular was very well written. The characters are very interesting. Like, all the characters in this movie are very well developed and very fun to watch. And the storyline, the scenario was very well thought out. I really, really enjoyed season 1. And it's a fairly short season, like most BBC seasons are. It's I believe it's 8 episodes, something along those lines. And then we get into season 2, and Phoebe Waller-Bridge kind of handed off the show running and head writer duties to another kind of actress / writer named, let's see here, Emerald Fennell, who took over for season 2. And season 2, I didn't think it was quite as strong as season 1 was, but that being said, it was still pretty good. It really kind of took a deeper dive into the relationship between Eve and Villanelle. And it's interesting because Villanelle, is the main character of the books, and to a large extent, she's actually the main character of the show, even though the show is called Killing Eve. And but Sandra Oh is kind of like the co-lead, and it balances the story between the two of these characters very well. And it was really interesting to kind of see in season 2 how Eve evolved as a character and became closer to Villanelle, not just mentally, but also emotionally. Like, you can tell that the sexual tension between these two was actually ramped up in the second season, and that there's actually like a, not just kind of like a weird mutual friendship, but also a kind of sexual relationship developing between the two of them, even though, they never have sex, or they don't even kiss or anything like that. And I'd say that the closest thing I've seen to this type of relationship was in the series Hannibal, between Hannibal Lecter and the main character of that show. I'm blanking on his name right now, but I believe it was Will. Those two have the very similar kind of relationship where one's hunting the other and the other becomes obsessed with the one hunting him. And they develop kind of like a weird friendship that has a lot of kind of almost sexual subtones to it. It brings a kind of different edge to the show when you think about how these characters are attracted to one another, but at the same time, one of them is also repulsed by this other character, and they worry about what's happening to them. And Villanelle, it's interesting because Villanelle, even though she's one of the main characters, she's also the villain of the story, and she does some truly horrific things throughout the course of these 2 seasons. But you can't help but like her, even though it's horrifying what she does. So I think that's a real testament to how complex of a character she is, and she's like just a joy to watch. The actress that they got to play her, which I believe it's Jodie Comer or Comer. I'm sorry, I'm terrible at pronouncing names, but Jodie Comer plays Villanelle, and she does an excellent job at it. She really kind of gets that kind of weird sociopath thing going on, but she does it with a lot of humor. And Sandra Oh is also very, very good in this show. And I just think that the balance between these two characters and the chemistry between the two of them is what really makes it so enjoyable. So if you're looking for like a fun spy series to watch, something with a lot of good action, a lot of good intrigue, but also like really interesting, fascinating characters, I would definitely recommend checking out Killing Eve seasons 1 and 2. There's going to be a season 3 that will be coming out in another year or so. So it doesn't look like this series is going to be slowing down at all. And if you want to read the books, there are books available, but they deviate significantly from the TV show apparently. So just be aware of that before you check them out. And I hope you guys enjoyed this hot take on Killing Eve seasons 1 and 2. If you did, subscribe to the channel for more of these types of things, plus movie news and stuff like that. And also follow me on social media. You can find me on Twitter at Matthew Kadish and all the other socials. So anyway, guys, I will catch you next time. Peace.